Week 14 is here, and it is our last week to make good until we head into the fantasy football playoffs, in particular, the best ball playoffs coming up, best ball mania. We're going to talk about it all. Of course, we're going to go position by position, look at the top scorers here. Also going to do some different stuff this week. We're going to look at some of the odds, see what maybe the best games are going to be. It's bye week Armageddon for a lot of players that we like. Your Ravens, your Texans, your Commanders, obviously. Your Colts, you got a lot that's going to be missing this week, so let's figure it out. Of course, here we got this screen going. And actually, you know what? Before we hop into the top players, let me go over to go to NFL odds if I can. NFL, where are we at? Odds. All right. So top games this week, games that could have the most point scores. And honestly, after what we saw on Monday Night Football yesterday, I don't even know that it matters. Like, that was not a high total game. Bo Nix goes nuts. Jameis Winston goes nuts. Maybe we just throw everything out the window here. Jerry Jeudy goes for 1,000,000 points. That was a tough one to see yesterday. But based off everything we know fantasy football-wise, we are supposed to go off Vegas totals, implied totals, to figure it out. So you got Green Bay, Detroit. That one's a 50.5-point implied total game. Competitive totals, well, -3.5, favoring Detroit at home. So players very live here. You would think your Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to look the best. Potential for a high-scoring spot for him here. Gets a tough Green Bay defense. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs very quiet last week. Jahmyr Gibbs also showed the play names, the different formation names accidentally on TikTok, and they had to put out a statement about how they weren't mad about it. Seems like someone that he's kind of mad about it would say. That's anyway, neither here nor there. Potentially a high-scoring game on Thursday Night Football. We'll see how that goes. Two good defenses, though, so maybe they'll play down. Jets in Miami. Miami playing well right now. Jets not playing so well. Still competitive. Still starting Aaron Rodgers, so you got a shot for that one, though. Breece Hall bags. Maybe he gives you one more before he goes, but Isaiah Davis getting pass kick work doesn't make you feel good about that. Vegas and Tampa Bay, Brock Bowers should be able to go nuts here. Tampa Bay's pass defense is awful, so he's been carrying a lot of teams in general for me. The big board, a lot of people out there overall, best tight end in football is here, fantasy-wise, relative to ADP, so that's a good part of it. Tampa Bay on their side, Bucky Irving should be able to go nuts again. He's the man in the thumbnail here. I was actually looking before the stream and how many Bucky Irving and Saquon teams are out there, and one of them, the number one overall, our guy Mathology in BBM, is a Bucky Irving and Saquon team. Besides that, only about 3,000 and change, less than 3,000 advancing. So I think it was a 67% advance rate, though, if you did have Saquon and Bucky paired together. But Bucky against Vegas, with the workload he's been getting over, I think he got 25 touches last game out. Talked about it earlier in the week as well. Just looking like a new man here in terms of how he's getting into space. Seems like he's at the peak of his powers already. That could rear its ugly head in a big way if you are not playing Bucky Irving this week against Vegas. Carolina, Philadelphia. This is the scary one. This is scary hours. Freaky, spooky, scary, hilarious, whatever the fuck the quote is from the from the Kendrick album. Saquon Barkley might go nuts here. Saquon Barkley could also see touchdowns go to other guys. Saquon Barkley could maybe, well, the issue is he's playing for 2,000 all-purpose yards. He's playing Carolina as a 12.5-point favorite here at home. I don't know how Saquon Barkley doesn't smash one more time here. He put up over 20 fantasy points, at least full-point PPR points. I don't know what was in half-point PPR against the Ravens this week. 100 rushing yards in that game as well. He's just doing against everybody. He might hurt us one more time down the home stretch. At this point, though, if you weren't advancing that Saquon team in your pod, like what is it going to do? What is one more good game going to do to you? But hard to imagine this being the week that the Saquon bag falls apart. Honestly, probably going to get chalky DFS play as well. Shout out to the chats as well. Thanks again for being on, Jaden. Hey, here, appreciate that. Having bye weeks this late is one of the dumbest things the league has done. Yes, and it's a lot of the key players for fantasy. So, look, we knew that going in all year. I'm deeply worried about it because I have a lot of teams hanging on the fringes to talk about in a moment here. But look, it is what it is. Everybody's got to deal with it. Atlanta, Minnesota. This one does not feel like a shootout. The return of Kirk Cousins, though. Kirk O'Chain's going the wrong way. Production's not been there from quite as much. He looked lost in that Chargers game at points, which is one of my concerns as well. I don't know this is a good spot overall. On paper, Minnesota should be able to get what they want against Atlanta. Maybe this is a week where they finally feed Justin Jefferson. Maybe he could have a Jerry Jeudy game. Probably not, though. It's not how they're using him this year. Honestly, this past week, Justin Jefferson was wearing a yellow shirt underneath his jersey, and I'm like, and yellow shoes as well. I'm like, is Jefferson just wearing this? So maybe Sam Darnold was like, oh, look at this bright colored guy. Wait a minute, that's the best receiver in football. Maybe I should throw him the ball a little bit. Instead, he still didn't. So I don't know what it takes for Justin Jefferson to have a good game at this point worth his draft capital. But yeah, maybe it happens versus Atlanta. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Cousins, though, pulling his end against the Minnesota defense. I do not feel good about that. I can tell you that right now. A defense that knows him and is also very good. And Kirk has not been good on the year, especially for the last 8 weeks. So that worries me quite a bit. New Orleans and the Giants. So seemingly would get Drew Lock again here. New Orleans a 4.5-point favorite on the road as well. Alvin Kamara looking okay again here. No Taysom Hill taking the touches away, taking the touchdowns away. A positive. The long deceased Juwan Johnson bags maybe better as well with him playing more tight end, even though the touchdowns still probably go to Foster Moreau. Your MVS bags going to look okay because they have nobody else to throw the ball to, really. Those are your positives here for New Orleans. Giants side, Neighbors playing a soft New Orleans defense. Maybe he has one spike week here. Getting fed pretty well, being happy with the amount of targets he got on Thanksgiving. Didn't do a lot with it, though. Still not a slate breaker. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't impressed by Drew Lock on Thanksgiving. I know that's going to be sacrilege here. The run plays were there. His ability to hold up in the pocket and just get the ball out was not there as much as I would have hoped. His ability also to leave the pocket and make a throw, also not there. So I don't expect much of the Giants. Tyrone Tracy being a thing wouldn't shock me. A player that doesn't matter that much to me, but might matter for some of you guys out there. But 40.5 point implied total, not the highest here. You're not expecting a high scoring game no matter what. Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, a 7-point favorite, even after last night. Look, Jameis, what we saw with Jameis is exactly why he is a fun fantasy quarterback. What we saw last night. Fun fantasy quarterback. I know people are like, oh, you got to start him next year. I don't think you got to start him next year. I think he showed you why you don't have to start him next year. You can't throw 3 picks, including 2 picks, 6 in a game. It's not, I know it's fun. I know we have a good time watching Jameis play, but I think we have to let reality set in here. Against Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh could certainly stop him here, though. Pittsburgh got strafed last week by Cincinnati. It's a fucking disaster. Not a bad total in this game. A Russ Jameis shootout seems possible. Jameis can find ways to throw himself into games seemingly no matter what. But the backbreaking mistakes are there. Cleveland's going to lose this one, I would think, no matter what. So love Jameis. A lot of fun. Just don't think this has to be something that works out for everybody. Shout out Chris here. Spags at a small parlay for some picks you called Thanksgiving on your NBA channel. Turn 3 into 100. There you go. Hey, appreciate it. That's the Splash Play NBA difference every Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Unabated paid me today too. So we're crushing here. But go check out Unabated. Check out the Splash Play NBA video. Second Denver TD cost me $50K. Ooh, that's tough. That's a tough scene. Yeah, sorry, Nolan. You had some good run lately, so it'll get better. Locks in NFL QB is not a good one. I agree. And shout out Kendrick here. Morning Spags. The season has flown by. It sure has. It sure has. The best ball bags. I mean, not done this week, but this is it. This is where the majority of your teams go bye-bye. Best ball playoffs coming up. I'm not sure how deep in the streets I'm going to be this year because, frankly, to be candid, my Underdog deal doesn't really reward it that much. So I'm not sure how much I want to spend my own money to promote something. We'll see how that looks. But, yeah, that's really worth it right now. And, look, we'll talk about my lineups in a moment. Jacksonville, Tennessee. Trevor Lawrence, dirty hit. Gets what's-his-face out of here. I don't know his last name. Defensive players. Suspended 3 games for that one. Clearly was a dirty hit. I think they were more mad about the reaction afterwards where he apologized after the game and all that. But in the game, he was still trying to fight dudes, whatever, trying to not take blame for it. It wasn't a clean hit. It was not a good hit. Kurt Benkert, fucking idiot, who took a less good slide, and he got hit, and he's blamed that player for ruining his career. Trevor Lawrence slid about 5 yards earlier than Benkert did in his injury that he's so mad about. Really exposed himself, I think Benkert did, unfortunately for him. I'm not a big fan of his. He's fine, but fraud alert for Kurt Benkert for sure. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence slid, got buried. He's done for the year. You got to think. Mac Jones threw 20 times in the fourth quarter, so maybe your Jacksonville stack bags aren't dead. But those were probably paired with Gabe Davis, probably paired with Christian Kirk. So your Evan Ingram teams, your Brian Thomas teams, the Mac Jones can't seem to find Brian Thomas. Your Evan Ingram teams might still be alive. Everything else not that good. Tennessee on their side. Nick Westbrook-Akide bag's looking good. He's taken away all the touchdowns that should be going to Calvin Ridley, or somebody else there, anybody else. Chig's playing okay. He doesn't get touchdowns as much. That's what the big issue for Tennessee is. Their touchdowns have flown to a player that nobody should have and shouldn't matter in best ball. This game, a 39.5 implied total as well. Maybe one of the running backs gets there a little bit. Maybe Travis Etienne. I forgot his first name because of how bad he's been this year. He's never a guy for me anyway. Maybe Travis Etienne gets you 1 touchdown, saves something for somebody out there. Game looks like shit, though. Got to say that. Benkert's the worst. I'd never really had an opinion on him. play Madden, whatever, have fun with it. I don't know. But look, I think the line for QBs being media personalities and really players being media personalities, too much. Not everybody should be one. Like not everybody needs to pick up a media influence for it. It's an impressive thing to reach the apex of athleticism, becoming a pro player and all that. But we don't need to hear from everybody. Like why is Chase Daniel one of the most important media personalities right now? I don't need that. The QB school guy, JT O'Sullivan, at least has like earned it. Like he does the work for it. The guys just kind of show up and look okay on camera and are getting promoted now because they felt the roster is on networks. It doesn't do a whole lot for me. And the guys who just pick up influencer money because like they're a name that people knew and they played Madden. That's like the lowest tier to me. Seattle, Arizona, 45-point implied total here. People wanted to shoot out a couple weeks ago for this one. Didn't quite get it. Maybe you get it here, I guess. Definitely more pass game work. 12 targets each for McBride and Marvin Harrison this past week. JSN looking good. Metcalf not really looking as good since JSN's been starting looking good. I don't love the Seattle, Arizona game environment overall, but 45-point employee total, not bad. I feel like if you want to feel good about that game, seeing high 40s would make you feel better. But certainly somebody can be an outlier here. James Conner, I think, in play. Kenneth Walker lost a lot of work to Charbonnet last game, which would worry me heading into this one a little bit. I'm not sure if it was injury or what. He still got a ton of touches in that game, but Walker's kind of found the floor for himself a lot over the last month. So RB-wise, Conner I would like a lot here. Passing game for Arizona I would like. Kyler, I would like, and probably JSN, I would like. Everything else, a little bit iffy in that game. Chicago, San Francisco, Niners, disaster. Would not shock me to see the Bears pull off an upset here, being finally freed from the shackles of Matt Eberflus. Thomas Brown seems like a guy that everybody's talked about him, raves about him. I had said that before when he got hired as the offensive coordinator. I had said that before when he got hired as offensive coordinator for the Panthers last year. Took over when Frank Reich as a play caller when he got fired. I think that Chicago might win this game. I think they might put up a good amount of points. Keenan Allen's been looking good. He's one of my few wide receivers saving graces down the home stretch here. He's been one of the first read target leaders since they made the change offensive coordinator as well, or play caller rather. So Chicago being good here, I could see. Niners, for you guys who were saved by Jordan Mason, he's on IR. So look, sorry for you guys. That does nothing but help me here in terms of one of the guys I did not have at all in ZRB portfolios. McCaffrey, though, out for the year. It's going to hurt a few teams I had. Sucks, too, if you had one of those teams that was hanging on, third place or whatever, getting McCaffrey back. Now he's gone again. He's probably not going to play again this year because the Niners also have like an under 10% chance to make the playoffs. So tough scene here. Chicago feels like they should win. Grendo Bags feel okay finally, yeah. But honestly, against Chicago, not really the matchup you want it to be in. And frankly, too, they could certainly use him less than Jordan Mason, and Jordan Mason was not getting the full CMC role. Even CMC wasn't getting the real full CMC role that was there last year. So, yeah, if you have Grendo, maybe one more shot here. If you have Jennings, I don't know why you really would, but Jennings maybe. Kittle and Debo, okay, I guess. But this game, I think playing down wasn't shocking, but I do think Chicago wins it outright. Buffalo and the Rams. Buffalo putting up one more big game here would be nice. The issue is who's going to benefit in the pass game for that. Like in terms of Buffalo stacks, nobody's been getting there. Kincaid's out. I guess could come back this week, but what is he going to spike in week 14 and give you one good game after giving you literally no good games all year? That doesn't seem the best thing for anybody either. Rams go against Buffalo. It's a tough defensive matchup. So high total in this one, 49 implied points. Feels like maybe you get Stafford succeeding against a tough defense, throwing some more to Kupp, throwing some more to Puka Nacua. That would not be crazy to me. Josh Allen having a good game here is your elite QB. That can happen. But what you're getting besides that, I think it's core guys and really nothing else I'd expect. Kyron, Puka, Kupp, Allen, everything else would kind of come out of left field here, but a high total for sure at 49 implied points. Chargers, KC on Sunday Night Football, 4-3 implied points. Two not exciting teams. Chargers might not have Ladd McConkey this week. We'll see how he can recover from the various injuries he has. Kansas City facing a tough Chargers defense. They certainly do not play crazily above expectation very often against tough defenses. Probably another KC rip-off job where they win on a field goal late. It seems like that's been the case. That's how they want to win this year, which is my speculation heading into the year. So knowing how things go, they'll shoot out, and it'll be a big game for Travis Kelce to help advance those teams. But I at a 43-point implied total. This particular matchup, not a lot for me to love here for Sunday Night Football coming up in week 14. And Cincinnati, Dallas. Cincinnati a negative 5.5 points here, a 5.5-point dog. I don't know why I said negative 5.5. That or 5.5 point favorite. Excuse me, my brain. Sorry, I literally took a nap for the show, so bear with me. I was looking at this and I'm like, wait a minute, Dallas 5.5 point favorite. No, that's not how the numbers work. As somebody who knows betting very well, this screams that they're going to keep playing fucking Joe Burrow, fucking Jamar Chase. They're going to keep playing the guys for one more week. It is the Simpsons broadcast as well, which is why this game couldn't get flexed out. It's extra stupid on both sides. But Dallas being almost a touchdown dog at home, I guess Cincinnati's going to go for one more week, and Jamar Chase could abuse these guys one more time, give you one more big score. T. Higgins, who's been a high advance rate player somehow, or he's actually a top scoring per game receiver overall in the year. Like, I think he's number 5 overall, somewhere in that range, despite missing a fucking month. Receiver is awful this year. Point being is like something here could spike, push a bunch of teams over on Monday Night Football. Would not be shocking here. And it's a 50-point implied total. Why Cincinnati wouldn't call off the dogs? Why Jamar Chase wouldn't just go, hey, dudes, you're not paying me past this year. We're not going anywhere. I'm going to still get $170 million in free agency no matter what, either from you guys or someone else. I'm not playing. I don't know why that's not happening yet for the Bengals, who can't make the playoffs really, besides like a under 5% fractional chance. It's really fucking stupid that the only good team this year in terms of fantasy production for receivers is a team that shouldn't even be playing for anything and shouldn't even exist. The Bengals in terms of the architecture right now. But they might advance one more. At a certain point, the Bengals have to stop playing because they are playing for nothing. They're probably going to beat Dallas here. Honestly, spread should be higher if they're going to be full go, I would think. Feels like maybe would be 7 and 6.5. Like if Cincinnati's full go and they're peak of their powers. But they're passing so much. They are just playing video game football out there in games that mean absolutely nothing. It's really frustrating to have gotten the Cincinnati core part right, that I didn't think they were going to be as competitive for an AFC title as everybody thought. And then they're still just going nuts in fantasy. They're probably going to go nuts one more time. That's that. So that's your week 14 overview here with some flubs along the way. We got through it. Let's look at the top scorers on the year, though. Try to spend a little bit less time on this than usual. Number 1, Lamar Jackson. Best combo, floor and ceiling in football all year. He is likely your core play in terms of advance rate. Him, Saquon, Derrick Henry, those are the 3. Kamara to a lesser extent. Those are your guys. So that's the chalk heading against the playoffs. We'll look at it on BBM in a moment. Lamar's been great. At this point, though, if you're going into the playoffs with him as your guy, you are going to be well-positioned, but also well-positioned to be in swaths of people that are going to be advancing with Lamar as well. So we'll look more in a moment here. Another 25.4 points. He's doing great. He's playing loose. The Ravens, still don't think they're that good of a team, to be honest. They're fine. They could shoot themselves into any game, shoot themselves out into any game. They're just not like good in the traditional sense. Like they're like the version of the Bengals that wins a little bit more. And I don't think that's enough to do damage in the playoffs. The real life playoffs, I don't think it's enough to survive in those. They can make a title game, but I just don't think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl no matter what they do. Bateman's now banged up as well. Weird things with Deontay Johnson. Maybe some chance the team finds some losses down the stretch here, but like Lamar's going to keep playing well no matter what. The defense sucks. He has to keep passing as a result. That's it with Lamar. He's in a perfect situation where he has unlimited freedom. He runs enough. Maybe his stack partners aren't the best. Zay Flowers, Andrews doing okay, but not really having outlier days. It's probably the biggest issue with the Lamar stack. But overall, he's your best QB because his defense sucks. He could do whatever, and the team is just not good enough to win games without him doing everything. So perfect situation for Lamar. He's a chalk, though. Saquon, not a great game on paper relative to what he's been doing against the Ravens, but honestly, to me, this is going to sound insane. That was probably his best real-life game of the year. He still had some stupid Saquon plays where he couldn't convert on 3rd and 1s. He's not an efficient player in the way that I look for in terms of doing everything that's like a good play always. That said, he still gets great blocking, still keeps taking once there, getting a little bit more when there is a little bit more to grab. He's been really good on the year. 19 fantasy points this past week. He gives you 19 in the playoffs. You're at risk of losing to your Buckies, losing to your Derrick Henrys, losing to your anybody really at RB who's been good this year. But at this point, there's so few good RBs left that Saquon could just keep putting up 15 to 20 and you feel good about it. That said, you want these games. You want the 33. You want the 44. Against the Panthers, everybody's going to expect that. I will certainly be hedging, playing some Saquon and DFS this week, as I'm sure a lot of people will. He's probably going to be the chalk play of all chalk plays and DFS this week. But the main thing to keep in mind here is something I've said a few times. he does greatly exceed his expected fantasy points every week, like more than anybody in football right now. And I expect there to be more games around this 18.7 fantasy points. That won't kill you because you're not getting beat by receivers in that range for the most part. Unless Nico Collins or somebody goes nuts there. That's sort of your way you can get leverage on Saquon in these playoff rounds. For right now, though, he's giving you enough points. RB has been tough for 0 RB teams. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. But really, in general, for best ball, the one thing I do know is you usually don't want 50% advance rate chalk, 30 to 50 advance rate chalk as like your core thing in the playoffs, because that's what kills you. It's killed Josh Jacobs teams in previous years. It's killed Tyreek teams in previous years. It's killed Jalen Hurts teams in previous years. It's killed Justin Jefferson teams in previous years. Like, if you're new to best ball, you feel like you're puffing your chest, and I know I see it on Twitter every day, and I know it's like a lot of people who I see the tweets. I know they're not that sharp. Saquon is great. He's your best, going to be one of the better projected players these next few weeks. If he fails, and it's a very decent chance he does fail relative to whatever you need to get going, he's not going to carry as well as he did before. And the other part of it too is that like, he can be your thing for a lot of teams out there. That's been the only thing carrying you to advance this whole year. Like, if you look at your teams, you have dog shit receivers. You have like maybe one top guy, Jamar Chase. A lot of teams that Saquon has, and then nothing else there. If you don't get that Jamar Chase game and you don't get that Saquon game, that's it. And that's not how you win in the playoffs. So Saquon team's going to feel really good heading in. And there may be, I mean, I'm hoping it's like the death's door meme where knock, 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 Saquon comes down. That's my hope. Jaden Daniels, look, fucking got the number 3 overall player as my stand for the year. Feels pretty good. Still hasn't been enough to make me feel like we balanced out some of these dog shit games, but number 3 on the year for a rookie coming in that I did puff my chest up about. I'm happy with the results. He's running more. He's looking good. The offense too. This past week, posted about in the VIP Discord, they're moving McLaurin all over the place. First target of the game was Terry McLaurin, right side, getting a target he wouldn't normally get. There, Cliff Kingsbury, for all the flaws he has, and I think there are many, he is a guy that, at least this year, the last 2 weeks, seemingly addressing the critiques, seemingly adapting a little bit more in the flow, seemingly trying to look at his own process and change it. And that's all we're hoping for. Now they get a bye week. Your hope is maybe you get more McCaffrey after that. Noah Brown got banged this past week, which could necessitate more McCaffrey. Hoping to get more Benson involved, but it's like this team is a playoff team, so the rookies at this point, I don't know what they're going to give you. But I think getting your Jaden, getting your McLaurin, who those are the 2 big stands for me. Getting your Brian Robinson potentially with that, with Eckler on IR, that looks good. Chris Rodriguez looked fantastic filling in second half there. They just didn't want to push Brian Robinson to the limit. Rodriguez was busting chunk play after chunk play in a way that not a lot of RBs have in that team this year. Brian Robinson wasn't that game, so not really a worry for his work, but Rodriguez probably gets himself some work as a result of what he did. Commanders look good to me these next few games. The issue, not playing week 14. So we'll see what happens with that. Joe Burrow playing his mind out for nothing. This past week, the way they were talking after that game, Joe Burrow said the next few weeks are about finding guys who are part of this team moving forward. I don't know what that means. The assumption, if I were to interpret it as I would with that, was that he probably is going to be full go, at least for the next few weeks, trying to get Burton going, trying to get Yoshevich going, trying to get, I guess, Gesicki, but he's kind of old, so maybe not. Maybe Tanner Hudson going, trying to see what Chase Brown has still. Like, I think they want to keep pushing the needle on that. Wouldn't shock me if the pass rate fell a little bit here, just because you can't keep putting Joe Burrow back there in danger, risking another leg injury or something for him, for a guy that's the key part of everything and looked fantastic this year. And like what, why are you doing it if you're not going to make the playoffs? But I think they go this week. It wouldn't shock me if they go hard week 15, one more loss, and they probably don't play anybody anymore. And it could still be Monday night. Like, it should be, they should probably not be so prideful and just go like, we have no shot here and we have to protect a lot of different investments. Burrow, Chase, Higgins, even Chase Brown, you probably want to protect to some extent now with what he showed. You want to get another back in there to keep him safe and make him, not have to have 25 touches in a game. I don't think Cincinnati is playing it the right way if they go full go, but we'll see what happens. I think they go full go this week, and the future, I don't know, jury's out. Jalen Hurts, due for a good game is the one thing I'll say here. Under 20 fantasy points for 3 straight weeks. We have, again, that 12.5 point total favoring them versus the Panthers this week. So Jalen Hurts, due for one. He is your way to not have Saquon hit. If you bring Hurts into the playoff rounds, he is the leverage against Saquon in every round. If he has the big game, gets a lot of tush pushes, also creates some passing production for A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith, who should be back in this week. Dallas Goedert's hurt now, so I don't know how that's going to matter. But really, maybe consolidated Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts offense if Goddard is out. That's your leverage against Saquon. So the Hurts drafters right now, if they have teams that are advancing Hurts in, you are the great white hope against Saquon. And if you have Hurts and Saquon, you're probably really well positioned to absorb whatever good production comes these next few weeks. And your hope is just that you get better games than this at QB, or you have another QB to score more and keep advancing Hurts, because these games are not the best over the last month. I mean, really, last month. That one was great, but better part of a month. Josh Allen, good enough. I think not paying off the elite QB price tag. He's not killing you, though. He can give you this week in the matchup they have, could give you 30 fantasy points. Wouldn't be crazy. I don't know if he's going to give you enough to advance at this point. He's just not pushing the rushing upside, as I've said from week one. He's starting to run a little bit more, but we're just not at previous Josh Allen highs. Pass game's also not good enough either. So for Josh Allen at number 6, I don't think you got what you paid for, to be honest, but he's okay. He's just not Hurts, and he's not Lamar, and that's kind of tough to see for elite QBs. But at least he's not Patrick Mahomes. You got that going for you. Baker Mayfield, 12 fantasy points this past week. Honestly, weird that it was that low for him. He got hurt mid-game, too, so that probably doesn't help either. But he should have put up more early on in that game, just didn't. Had the Mike Evans touchdown that I pretty much guaranteed in the stream here, so that worked out for us, I guess. For Baker this week, hopefully he can play, would be the main thing here. He's been a great QB. He's paid off his ADP. Now you might need somebody else to step up. Baker might be a guy who advanced a lot, especially if he's hurt, obviously. But even if he's not hurt, he's probably due for a little bit of floor coming up. But the matchups will still be fine for him. So Baker, no real opinion on him, but he's definitely going the wrong way. And being hurt this time of year for a team that's hanging on, but not, I mean, they could still win the South. So got to think Baker's going to try to go. Got to think he's going to try to go no matter what. Derrick Henry at number 8. No games above 15 fantasy points in a month. That's not good for your Henry drafters. Clearly has fallen behind Saquon. A lot of that, I think, is because of just him looking not quite as juicy. I guess the best way to say it. Doesn't quite seem as exuberant in terms of his run plays lately. He's also been getting less work, but you can't blame now even Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell wasn't active, I think, this week, let alone last couple weeks. Justice Hill's had some good days, but like Derrick Henry's just in the same situation. He's just not running as hot. And frankly, Derrick Henry's probably the cautionary tale for Saquon, where he's another guy that was above his expected fantasy points for a while. Not quite as much as Saquon. Now we're seeing the regression. We'll see what happens with Saquon. I don't want to predict regression, but should be coming. It doesn't coming, but it is coming for Derrick Henry. Bo Nix at number 9. Another guy touted very early on. Didn't quite get there as much. He's not running as much lately because he's been able to pass more. So he's honestly was kind of running out of desperation a lot in the first half of the year. As a result, we're seeing 4 of the last 5 games under 20 fantasy points. Does have the one high of 28.8. Still a good guy to get you where you need to go. Was better than all the QBs in that range who are vets. Bo Nix, I think one of the gems of the year. He is not rookie of the year, though. I don't care what people want to say. Like, I know I'm in the bag for Jaden as well, but I also was in the bag for Bo Nix. You can watch these guys. I've watched every game of both of them, certainly more of Jaden of every play. There's not in the same stratosphere, really. But Bo Nix, great pro QB, doing a great job. Tremendous draft pick. Next year, he'll go 100s, I would guess. And he'll be a great pick there, too, I would guess. Just a solid player who's figuring it out, making us seem better. But, he's never going to be Jameis Winston, which is probably a positive. He's going to win more games. He's not Jameis Winston. Not just yesterday in that small sample size, but, that style of play you don't win with. Bo Nix's style where he just does whatever it takes to move the ball, not turn the ball over if he can. That wins you games, and he's an efficient player. High EPA players I talked about back in January for him. Was the only person who's touting him in the entire fucking industry. He's doing it. So Bo Nix, great payoff for him. The exception of a few guys, his fantasy scoring a bit lower this year, or is my mind playing tricks on me with as many? It has to be lower for receiver. I don't know what the meta things are. I don't really track stuff like that because I don't really care. It's also just 1 year. But yeah, receiver scoring has to be down. There's never been this many weeks where every single week it's under every single guy projected for under 20 fantasy points overall. That said, we are starting to see a few outlier games, so it wouldn't shock me if you saw it loosen up a little bit down the home stretch. But projection-wise, it's definitely been the lowest here for sure. RBs have been fine. I don't know. Jamar Chase falls to number 10. good games here. Just when you have the underlying workload, not as good as C. Higgins, it's going to be tough for him to keep doing what he's been doing. That said, he can smash games against Dallas. I just like, if I'm going to get the biggest contract of my life, and he would still get it even if he got hurt. So I guess maybe that's the logic. I just don't know why he's playing. Like, I know I'm not the Jamar Chase bag holder here. I've got him a respectable amount. I'm at 6% or something like that. Whatever. He's advancing some teams for me. He just shouldn't be playing for himself. Like, there's no reason for him to keep doing it, but he's doing it. So we'll see what happens. Sam Darnold up to number 11. This is sad. Mahomes is behind Sam Darnold. Look, this is one of my big beliefs here. This is one that I got 100% right, was that the Chiefs are going to be good, but Mahomes wasn't going to do anything. That he learned how to make that leap that a lot of great QBs do, that you win games by not putting yourself in danger, save it for the playoffs, spend fucking 5 seconds in the pocket in the playoffs in real time in the regular season when you can win games with a decent defense and just kickers and running the ball. 1 second, get rid of the ball. That's it. That's what Mahomes has been doing this entire year. Can he still spike? I guess. We literally have one game for him, or 2 games for him over 20 fantasy points, 1 game over 25. Like, one of the worst picks, and I bet he still goes way too high next year. With where he went, he still is, CJ Stroud wasn't a good play either a little bit later. AR is getting there, but had a kind of rough run to it. Everybody who wasn't one of the true elite QBs was a bad pick. Kyler looks like a better pick than Mahomes relatively, even though he's not great either, right behind Mahomes. Jaden, obviously a better pick. I don't know. I think Mahomes is one of the worst picks in basketball overall. You don't know why a wide receiver in a contract year pushing for the triple, because he's going to get paid endless money no matter what. He doesn't need to win the Triple Crown. He's going to get paid the most of any receiver in football history. You're not going to get another 20 mil. He's going to get the same fucking 175, maybe 200 mil no matter what. So yes, you don't push yourself at that point. It's really fucking dumb. Who cares about winning the Triple Crown? It's about getting your fucking money up. They're not us. They're not fans just rooting for numbers. They're rooting for their numbers and their pocketbook. And his pocketbook, and I'm sure Jamar Chase literally has a pocketbook for himself. His pocketbook is like the money he gets. It's not him putting up stats for your fucking fantasy team. Who gives, grow up. I can understand how the business of football works a little bit. That doesn't matter for fantasy football. Not to be totally dismissive. Who cares? He's also not even he's not even that getting targeted that well or used that well. You're not getting used to the greatest extent anyway. You're not having some historic year. Just rest and get your 200 mil. You're not making the playoffs. It's done. Kyler Murray looking good. Can run more. Can spike an upside here. Still for him, if you want to make the kind of Mahomesy case, only 4 games this year over 20 fantasy. No, 5 games over 20 fantasy points. Not that good. For Kyler Murray, I'm happy to have them still. The fact that he is throwing 12 targets each to Harrison McBride makes that stack look a little more natural as well. He's just not that good, to be honest, like Kyler, compared to a lot of the guys we talked about already. I think the ceiling is not as high. In game as well, it's not that great either. I feel like it's actually a very funny chat. James Young is like, I earned my company an additional 2% ROI this year. Yeah, I saved money in my expense report, guys. Does that mean I'm a good employee? No, it's fucking football, man. He's going to get paid $200 million no matter what. Chill. Jared Goff at number 14. Goff paying off his ADP stack has not looked beautiful this year. Laporta went too high. Amon-Ra has had the ceiling, but maybe you can make the case went too high. They're relative to first-round receivers. He's right there as well as anybody besides Jamar Chase. So Goff looking okay. Kamara, 3 out of the last 4 under 15 fantasy points is not good. Having Taysom Hill out will help him out a little bit. Just losing that touchdown hog that's been ruining him a little bit. That said, Taysom Hill was out for a good portion of the last game. Kamara still didn't get there. So New Orleans is just winning. They're not playing well, but they're doing okay with what they got. I don't know what to expect from Kamara, but should be a better outlay moving forward. And guys, just outside the top 15, Mixon falling out a little bit thanks to that 7-point game. Bijan had 1 good game, but the bye week. Gibbs, hard for him to hit every week with Montgomery being there. Purdy going the wrong way, obviously. Caleb going the right way. Monster Caleb games here. That is one dude, if you're carrying him into the playoffs, he could win you everything because that team is playing for Thomas Brown to keep that job. And I think they're going to be very highly motivated to do it. So Caleb, you see those games like that here. Those are monsters. And frankly, Detroit's defense doing that there. Obviously an awful first half for him on Thanksgiving, but Caleb showing it a little bit more. Top QBs, we probably talked about most of these guys: Lamar, Jaden, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Bo Nix, Sam Darnold, Mahomes, boo. I was going to say blah and boo, and it came out as boo. Kyler Murray, Jared Goff, Geno Smith. Geno still dropping back a lot. Results are not there. He really shouldn't be the Seattle long-term QB, to be honest, but we'll see what happens with that. Brock Purdy, certain point, you have to wonder if they call off the dogs too. Niners have under a 10% chance to make the playoffs. Probably still go for another week or so, but Purdy's banged up. Probably have to pay him big money this offseason too. I think Purdy should be pretty close to not playing. Caleb, talked about him going the right way. Stroud, one of the most disastrous years. I thought this guy could be MVP. This is one of my worst takes, honestly. And I don't know why it's a bad take. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I don't know why Bobby Slowick is an idiot. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. 100+ yard day for Nico Collins this week. Schultz looked okay as well. Tank Dell not being good is probably a big part of it. They just don't have that explosive overall offense. You guys hitting. But this is awful. Stroud getting 14 points against Jacksonville. I don't know what you expect from him. Against Baltimore, he's still going to have to throw a lot. Maybe that's it. It's just like, needs to be a situation where he's down 2 touchdowns, down 3 touchdowns, and maybe he can start to hit his ceiling more. But he's not himself. He's another guy, too, where I talk about this a lot. I talk about it with Kelsey a little bit, and he's been fine because everybody kind of fell out, got injured for KC. Like, when you do too many shit in the offseason, I think that's one of those red flags. Just be like, a little bit lower on the guy. CJ Stroud was fucking doing podcasts. He was traveling to Japan and sumo wrestling with fucking Micah Parsons. Like, I don't know what the fuck he was doing this offseason. It wasn't playing QB, and it wasn't telling Bobby Slowick, hey, let's pass some more, dude. Like, he just, I don't know. This is awful. This is one of the worst year 1 to year 2 leaps, transitions ever. And honestly, at this point, with what I've seen from AR the last few weeks, I'd rather have AR moving forward. Like, I think Stroud can get it right. I hope he can. But like AR, at least, like, they're now going, hey, dude, your career could end. Just run with reckless abandon. Oh, yeah, there's 7 guys at the line, and you're going to score a touchdown. Run into all of them, AR. Like, that's what he should be doing. His body should be a battering ram. For Stroud, he's a pure passer. He's now got the best RB he's had at any point. He's dog shit. I just don't know. I want to blame the play calling. I don't want to blame him. Maybe Bobby Slowick gets a head coaching job somewhere. They get a new OC in who changes things. But I think the combo of D'Amico Ryans being kind of that non-aggressive Niners thing, that archetype they have, the Shanahan tree, doesn't want to push things too much if they don't have to. The defense is good enough for Houston. That's another part of it. They're just not pushing him to the limit as much. And he also, frankly, has like really bad pocket awareness. I don't know what the deal is with him, but I do think there's something to, like, he did a lot of fucking media, man. He really took like the I'm influencing thing a little bit too far. And I hate being the fantasy football counselor at the stuff. But every time I see that, it was the same thing with Christian McCaffrey too. When he had the 1 year that was kind of a lost year with Carolina, he was also fucking posing with his now wife, Olivia Culpo, and doing like cringy photos and Instagram posts and stuff. It's like whenever these guys try to get famous too hard in one offseason, just fucking fade them, I think is the thing. And I don't want that to be a data point. But it's now happened enough times that like I'm really feeling like it is a real data point that nobody talks about. Joe Mixon is crushed, and Nico's proven he's a top wide receiver. It's true. Oh, that's interesting. Joe Burrow's spider meme. I guess, but the thing is, like, Joe Burrow is playing the best football he has in his entire life right now. So, like, that's the part. Like, it's not on Joe Burrow. It's on that shitty Cincinnati defense. Everything this year is on that defense. It's not on him. For Stroud, all his success this year is also due to Houston's defense and Mixon. It's not due to him. He's not been good at any point. So I'm like, I get mad at these guys when, like, I think it's weird. Like, I'm mad at the Saquon concept because, like, I wasn't there and people are such assholes about it. I'm mad at Stroud, though, because I love him and I want him to be good. And even though his ADP wasn't always my favorite, especially because the fact you could, like, push him 15 picks lower in best ball this year, he's just not – he's not that guy. Like, he's not that guy this year. And it bums me out because I really thought last year, thought I got it 100% right. And I don't know. I want to blame somebody. And right now, I think I'm landing on blaming CJ Stroud. Saquon, number 1. Derrick Henry, number 2. Then that's it in the top 15. We got Jahmyr Gibbs, we talked about. Joe Mixon. Mixon should keep being good. Got one of the better red zone rolls in football. The issue is he himself is not that good. I was saying that the cover 2 shell D kind of limited Burrow pushing. I mean, but it's not limiting him now. I mean, Burrow is having one of the most efficient QB years. I mean, this year he's created more EPA than anybody else in in football this year in terms of pass plays. So, I mean, like, I don't know. He's not being stymied by cover 2. Fucking Jameis Winston not being stymied by cover 2, not being stymied by the best coverage defense. So I think at a certain point, it is still will and skill over anything else. And, to me, like football, I strongly believe is a will thing. And like when people go, Quinion Mitchell shut down Terry McLaurin, it's like, no, they just didn't throw targets his way. If they're throwing targets his way and they're deflected over and over again, he can't get space. That's fine. You could say coverage, whatever, separation is the thing. I don't buy that quite as much. But in reality, it's like if you force the ball to your players and you force the ball in the pass game, like Cincinnati is, like the Chargers are right now, you're going to still see positive pass results. But if you don't force it, it just doesn't happen. So Houston is not forcing it at all. Josh Jacobs, really good run here. I don't know if it's enough to make up for some of the dog shit games he had earlier on. He's benefiting from the lack of a true number 2 RB there. People like Chris Brooks. People like Emmanuel Wilson. The reality is this team wanted Marshawn Lloyd out there. And Marshawn Lloyd has been, we'll talk about it when we get to my advance rate stuff. He has killed my portfolio in a way that I shouldn't be possible. But I have so many teams that are in 3rd and 4th place that just needed an RB to give me some points throughout the year. Marshawn Lloyd can play week 16 and week 17. That'll be my hope, is that he plays those games and goes nuts. But Jacobs doing well. These defensive-minded matchups have been good for him. Got another one coming up against Detroit. I think he's going to dominate the run game there as well, as long as the game script doesn't get too far away from them on Detroit scoring a lot of points. Jacobs playing well here, but he's not quite as good as Henry, not quite as good as Saquon. I'd rather have Bucky, guys like that too, but he's better than a lot of guys out there, to his credit. So that's where you have with Jacobs. Probably reliable points, if nothing else. I think he could beat out, the James Cook tier come playoff time, but Cook has the spike week stuff, but really big downside. Jacobs will give you at least 10, maybe 20. Kamara, we talked about here. This is also standard scoring. Yeah, Kamara, he's okay. Talked about him before. Kyron, good week this week, 17.8 fantasy points. As I mentioned enough times here, doesn't matter if they give Blake Corum a drive, really. Doesn't matter if they give Blake Corum 5 drives. As long as Kyron keeps getting the red zone work, as long as he keeps getting some check down shit, he's going to be fine. He's fine this week. He is your leverage, really, against Saquon, against Derrick Henry, against Achane. Achane as well, who's right behind him too. Like these guys, all of them can win BBM for somebody there. It sucks that it feels like it is an RB in that range that does win BBM. I don't feel as good about the receivers over there right now. But Kyron, Achane, lower advance rates, still the same ceiling of a Saquon, still the same ceiling of a Derrick Henry. Those guys are really crucial heading in right now. Was there any else really available during the Lloyd rounds? Feels like most are zeros. I mean, the thing is for Lloyd, I took him in the 120s. I took him in the 130s. I took him in the 150s. I took him in the 170s. So I took him everywhere because I was like, he's too talented. If people are going to be afraid of whatever things, whatever. But he just had the Simpsons softball run out this year where he kept getting hurt. Then they protected him from himself. They were like, we'll get him ready for the bye. Then he has an appendectomy, which is like, you can't, that's not even soft tissue injury accumulation thing. His appendix burst. So what are you going to do? But yeah, look, I mean, Tyrone Tracy would have been one to take when he had fallen. There were always guys. There's always guys you could not take. I just don't think any of them fit the talent profile of a Marshawn Lloyd. No. I took him. I thought he was a great play the entire time. I mean, I still think he would have been if he had been healthy, but we'll never know that outcome now. Alternate universe Spags, though, thriving. The one universe where Marshawn Lloyd played the whole year and Jane Danielson did what he did, that's something good. Let's take the guy who might be out for multiple weeks in the playoffs. That would be really good. Also, whatever. Ladd's still not a great pick in that range. Like, I don't know what you're expecting there, but like Ladd's a fine play. I know Adam wants to suck himself off for Ladd. But yeah, he next year he'll be in the Keenan Allen, Christian Kirk range and probably find a way to disappoint like those wide receivers do in that range. James Cook, 18.5 fantasy points for him. Breece Hall, 6 this past week. He falls down. Breece is a disaster situation. Kind of thought this week would be one where they maybe give him some touches to placate him. He was banged up throughout the week. Yeah, Breece to me, I don't know. Chuba Hubbard at 13, really bad week for him in a game where they're still competitive. It's not like it's Jonathan Brooks doing a whole lot either, so hopefully better days for Chuba if he's been carrying you. He is one of those guys, though, if he has been carrying you, finding the floor here would not be a crazy thing either with Brooks coming in. The offense now getting a little more trust in the passing game as well. Those are not actually great things for Chuba Hubbard, even if they move the ball a little bit better. Chase Brown, 17.5 fantasy points this week. Still only number 14 on the year at RB. Kind of surprises me, but he could be a late runner here. I think even if the Bengals call off the dogs, Chase Brown keeps getting work because you want to see like how good he can be as that lead back. Can he hold up? I think is part of that question. It's kind of a fine line though, because you don't want to hurt the guy, but he's had a good year. Yeah, Chase Brown been great, but he is a little bit of a risk too. Like Bucky, I think is full go throughout, assuming he's healthy, because like the Bucks still playing for a spot. Cincinnati at a certain point, like Chase Brown's young enough, you can keep running into the ground. You give him 30 touches a game in week 15, week 16, week 17, as sometimes some teams do. Or you can just go, this guy's a part of our future plans. Let's not do that. Let's start him and not play him anymore. Besides that, there's real risk with Chase Brown on that front because the Bengals just don't matter. Adam, I got to tell you, man, we're not talking about receiver. It's not just about you. I don't care. It's like Adam thinks it's like the Spags and Adam stream where every show we have to talk about Lad McConkey and fucking his players. I don't care that much. Sorry, take 5 minutes. James Conner, 9.6 fantasy points this week. At a certain point, he'll put up 2 touchdowns for you. That would feel good. Besides that, I really don't know about James Conner. He is a good player this year. He just got paid more money. They don't want to do apparently the exact logic was that they don't want to do the same mistake the Giants did, that the Titans did with Derrick Henry. The issue is like Arizona's not really playing for anything real. So James Conner at this point, I don't know. I don't know what he gives you. Total mystery box here. Hasn't crested past 20 fantasy points and half PPR the entire year. So that's kind of tough to see as well. He's been good, but in the playoffs, I think you'd probably rather have a Bucky Irving who's surging at the right time. But Conner could still get you there. So that's that. All right, wide receivers coming up next. Jamar Chase at number 1. No surprises there. Amon-Ra number 2. Maybe a little bit of surprise there, but I think that's just it. He has 1 good game and 1 game above 20, and that's enough for Amon-Ra just being okay and in line with every receiver. It's enough to make you number 2. Receiver is pathetic this year, so I get why Adam wants to talk about Lad all the time. You can't do it every fucking show, man. Like find something else to talk about is what I would ask in return for that. That said, Terry McLaurin playing well as well. This is a year too where like I feel like if I'd gotten Terry McLaurin as wide receiver 3, I should be the happiest boy in the world. And instead, it's like just more of a reflection of how cheeks the wide receiver cores overall for every player is this year in fantasy. McLaurin at number 3, Amon-Ra number 2. I think both speak to the fact that like wide receiver is just not as great of a situation as it should be. Jefferson at number 4, the saddest number 4 ever. He hasn't scored over 14 fantasy points in a month, and he's still at number 4 overall. I don't get it. Wonder if we're going to see Chase go number 1 this year. I don't think so. I think it's probably an RB if I had to guess. Chase will be top 5, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how Underdog's going to react to everything. If I were to go off the Battle Royale logic, they learned be little RB piggies immediately. So I think RB might be really high to start next year. And then as sharper drafters come in, the sharper drafters are going to be there from day one. I really have no read. People have been putting out their ADP predictions. I think RB is going to be a lot more prominent than it would seem. If Saquon's number 1, I wouldn't question it, but I don't think it would be a good choice. I don't know. I think Saquon has a good shot at being number 1, though. I do agree with that. But I think it's going to be like Saquon's number 1. I think Derrick Henry's going to be higher than he probably should be, though, with how he's fallen off. Probably still second round. I think Achane is first round next year. I think Bijan's first round again. Breece Hall is now probably 2-3, which is what he should have been this year. Yeah, it's going to move around a lot, but different RBs will be first round. And I think probably half of them will be my guess. CeeDee Lamb, Cowboys still trying, even though their season is really not good. 5 fantasy points in that spot against the Giants. I don't know what you're getting out of CeeDee Lamb moving forward, yet he is still number 5 on the year. This is just embarrassing. This is like, I, as somebody who loves receivers and loves passing offenses and loves drafting wide receivers in best ball, seeing this chart of receivers is just embarrassing, like legitimately. Drake London, I thought there was a world where he could have been an end 1-2 turn hit. I took him a lot. He's the number 6 overall receiver, and I don't feel like I've gotten anything for it. He's had one 27-point game, which is when Kirk Cousins threw for 500 yards. Everything else is just okay. 12.8, a bye week, 8 fantasy points, 14. Fantasy-wise, he's been a great pick, and yet it doesn't feel great. Cortland Sutton, great value pick where he was. He's number 7 overall now. Very concentrated targetry for Denver overall, but does he win you money at the end here? I'm not confident in that. Does he get outscored by Troy Franklin in week 16? I think it's possible. Troy Franklin had some bombs yesterday, just couldn't convert with Bo Nix, his college QB, who has the fucking worst rhythm with him on deep balls ever. Yeah, I don't know. Cortland Sutton to me feels flimsy. Jaden Reed feels flimsy as well. An 18-point day gets him back up to number 8, along with his 123.6 game, 31.1 earlier. Everything else is pretty bad. Jaden Reed, to me, not a player I would trust either, but happy to see him at number 8, I guess. Zay Flowers, no games above 11 fantasy points for a month now. He's at number 9. JSN, he's had some of the better games overall in the last month, but Metcalf being out there is not good for him. Seattle's just not looking as good as an offense overall last couple of weeks, even though JSN's been dominating overall. Garrett Wilson, a month of under 7 fantasy points is also not good. He can spike for sure, but I don't know if the motivation's there. I don't know if the usage is there right now. Brian Thomas had a good game in part because of Trevor Lawrence being there. Could have been a monster game for him. Missed on a 70-yard touchdown, and I think 2 70-yard touchdowns it might have been, at least somewhere in that range. Brian Thomas, not going to do with Mac Jones is really the issue here. Mac Jones is going to drop back a lot. He's not kind of the guy. Cherry Judy, one good game, legit. Has had 2 games above 20 fantasy points, including a 36-pointer yesterday. That's enough to make him number 13, ahead of Ladd McConkey, who many people can't stop talking about. He's getting outscored by Jerry Judy. Ladd McConkey at number 14. You're not mad about it at ADP, but again, hasn't had more than 1 game above 20 fantasy points. Just a dude, really. But in a year where receiver sucks, a lot of people think Ladd McConkey's a great play. So congrats. In the worst year wide receiver ever, Ladd McConkey's at number 14. DJ Moore at number 15. Chicago offense looking better here. I think that's a good sign for him. He and Keenan Allen both spiking lately. Keenan Allen shouldn't be that far behind, right? Because he's had a couple. Where's Keenan? Keenan's down at 42. Man, the early part of the year was so bad for Keenan. The 2 straight games over 19.5 PPR points. Granted, took 2 touchdowns to get their last time out. Keenan, I would say another surger as well, potentially. Nico Collins should keep going here. 100 receiving yards this past week, though in the softest possible matchup against Jacksonville. Neighbors, it's only 11.5 PPR points, not that great. Pickens can get there on a weekly basis. A.J. Brown, this is a sad fall off for A.J. Brown as well. Receivers just not getting there to this Philadelphia offense. Good enough for number 14 in the worst receiver year ever. Yes, you got that right. But again, Adam, please find something else to talk about, man. It's every video. Showdown videos. Gotta talk about Ladd. Come on, man. A.J. Brown, yes. Poor A.J. Brown. Tyreek, poor Tyreek. Poor Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison being this far behind Drake London feels impossible too. I know Harrison's not been that good, but that's whatever. He can spike. If you give him 12 targets a game, he's going to get there down the home stretch. I would guarantee that. Brock Bowers. Here's something Adam should be proud about. Brock Bowers is good. Brock Bowers, 25 fantasy points against KC. 2 weeks out of the last 3 over 24 fantasy points or / around 25. He's your number 1 tight end next year. You run the risk. Vegas overhauls everything, bringing another receiver there that then takes some targets away from Brock Bowers. All it takes is one of those top draft capital guys. Your Burdens, your McMillan. Is he still a dude? I haven't looked at rookie numbers yet, or incoming rookie numbers yet. Something could come into Vegas that upsets the Bowers efforts a little bit, but he should be their number 1 target. I mean, this is what I said. You guys have been following the content all year. The moment they traded Devontae Adams, I said they need to go to Brock Bowers as wide receiver 1, and I think they will. They have done that. But he and Jacoby Myers have both been a lot better since firing Luke Getsy. This entire offense has looked better. Even Aiden O'Connell threw for 300 yards this past week. So Brock Bowers, I think, should be okay down the home stretch. Some good matchups as well. Week 14, he's one of the guys I'm hoping will get me some good points to advance in Week 14 against Tampa Bay. I like the spot for him. Kittle's been great, but this week, down to 1 fantasy point. For Kittle, I don't know what you get moving forward. Niners at some point do have to call off the dogs. Purdy's banged up. I would, if I were him and he has the real big money deal coming, I think you don't want to risk your shoulder too much more if you're not playing for the playoffs. That's at the Niners. Great culture, all of that. They're going to go for that thing for sure. They're going to go for a couple more weeks, but I don't know if they go to week 17 would be my concern for the Niners overall. And Kittle is the number 2 tight end. McBride, to do this with no touchdowns, really fucking impressive. This McBride Harrison offense last week looked like what I think it should have been from week 1. Very happy about how McBride is looking so far. I think that for McBride, he is a player that has paid off as ADP, I guess. He beat out Laporta. He's beaten out Andrews, with nowhere near the touchdowns. If he had scored touchdowns this year, he'd probably be at least right there with Brock Bowers. So not mad about McBride. If you're carrying McBride in against Bowers, you got a shot against Bowers in the playoffs. And honestly, if you carry any tight end in, you got a shot. But for McBride, he's your number 2 guy. He's your number 2 guy. Johnny Smith at number 4. 3 straight weeks of over 16 fantasy points is nuts. As we talked about enough times on here, he's getting more targets than Jalen Waddle overall per game on the year. He's now, I think, neck and neck with Tyreek. He's been great. He was one of my late bailout tight ends. I didn't think he was going to get this much of a role, especially after the early run out where no games above 10 fantasy points for the first 6 weeks of the year. But right now, it's looking pretty good. Mark Andrews at number 5. 15.9 fantasy points for him. Keeps scoring touchdowns. Really the main thing that's getting him there. Travis Kelce, not a great week. It seems kind of weird to me that he's still not getting used that much. I think at this point, we're in kind of saving him mode for the playoffs. We're getting a little more targets being spread around. They don't need Kelce quite as dearly. He's also, I think, a little bit distracted with some of his girlfriend's activities. This time of year, there's a little more events to go to, things like that. So for Kelce, we're seeing the downside here. He can still spike enough to compete with the Bowers, but with what you paid for him, he's not been anywhere near worth it. Zach Ertz at number 7. This one hurts me a lot, I have to say, because Zach Ertz has not been good. Chill sending in 2. But all right, you know, you listen to people. I'll give you an answer here. Start 3 in my flex to make the playoffs. Garendo, Judy, Jameson Williams, Jonnu, Elijah Moore. I'd probably go. It's going to be Judy, Jonnu, Garendo, I think. But yeah, I mean, you got a lot of options there. Really what you should be doing, and now you've paid the chat, just use projections. Like, don't ask hosts on YouTube, whether it be me or somebody else. I appreciate your money. The 99 cents I'll get from that too. But I would not play Brian Thomas with Mac Jones. It's not a great scene for him. But just look at projections for anything. Don't pay people money. Just pay for stochastic projections, use roto grinders, look at projections. Swift Tour is coming to an end, so he should be better now. You understand, Adam, the amount of celebrity obligations that a guy like Travis Kelce has when you're trying to be famous. That's basically how that's going to go, is like you have these obligations and you have a lot of things. I think for him, there's always been a multitude of factors where he was doing too much shit in the offseason. He's hosting TV shows, acting in Ryan Murphy shows, doing his podcast, doing sponsor deals, traveling for those, traveling for Taylor and all that. But also it's like you run into the part of they didn't want to use him that much this year. His last few weeks, Noah Gray's taking a lot of that production away, but it's not like it's a deliberate thing for Kelce where like they're getting Noah Gray going because they just don't want to use Kelce. But I get Adam, I know, but like there are people that are going to think that literally. For Kelce, like legit, it's just that they never wanted to use him as much as they did in the middle of the part of the year, and now they don't have to. So definitely could spike a ceiling still, but I wouldn't feel good about having him in the playoffs. Ertz, though, point being, Ertz, these should be sit at numbers. That's what this feels like. Ertz was also free the entire draft season. He was the one Washington secondary bet I didn't make at much volume. So it hurts me here that Zach Ertz is now number 7 and probably would have helped me advance some teams. That's basically it. Projections help with everything, buddy. They help with everything. That's the whole thing. That's all of fantasy football. It's not just people's opinions. It's numbers reflecting game totals, situations, target shares, all of that. All right. Tucker Kraft, 10.8 fantasy points. Kate Otten, 4 this past week. Not playing well. Kate Otten, I thought, would be opened up a little bit more by having Mike Evans in there. Maybe kind of fell into the vortex of Baker Mayfield getting hurt and all that. Hunter Henry, David Njoku, Taysom Hill, ACL tear out for the year. It wouldn't have mattered for Best Ball Mania, but it does matter a lot for a lot of the other leagues out there. So that sucks. If you had Taysom, at this point, though, for me, getting him out of the pool, whatever. Cole Kmet, Kyle Pitts, a 0. Kmet had some really bad coach speak this past week. Actually, not Kmet, excuse me. Kyle Pitts did. We're basically, so Morris was like, hey, like Kyle Pitts, yeah, we got to give him the ball more, but I have to look at the film and determine if like it's us not getting him the ball or it's him not playing well, which is not a good thing you want to hear from a coach on a player that's not getting great usage. So Pitts at this point, to me, I just I don't know what you expect from him. He hasn't put over 10 fantasy points up in a month and change. Not where you want him to be. Freiermuth, good game at 15.8 fantasy points relative to modern tight ends. His first game above 15 on the year, though. Hard to love that. On such a adjusted guy, Romeo Dobbs, tight ends. He was getting open when he was the only receiver in a way that I think was fairly impressive, but I agree he's more the Tucker Kraft tier of guys than the Trey McBride tier of guys, or / Brock Bowers tier. I'm with you on that. Pitt's putting up a 20-point game as a tight end, and they still don't want to throw to him. So again, it is one thing too where he's also not playing that well according to how they view him. So that doesn't help. All right, guys, we're at the point of things. We have to look at my advance rates. And this is one, guys, it's gotten extra weird even by my standards. Before we do that, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. If you are watching this video, and there's a lot of you guys watching live for this video, this is the least watched video I do every week. I do it mostly out of obligation because I did show my best ball drafts all off season. That said, I could use your support here. Hit the like button, leave a comment after the fact, do all that. Because frankly, it's not a lot of fun to talk about how everything I got wrong while preparing more than anybody else in the football community from January on. But it is what it is. My advance rates, I'm advancing, I think, 16 out of 150 right now. So an 11% advance rate. Expect me to lose one this next week. The issue for me, so I did my little calculation on Excel here. I have 29 teams within 40 points. I have 25 teams within 30 points. I have 21 teams within 20 points. So we are within a salvageable range. The issue is that I don't think I have the dogs to do it with the week 14 bye especially. So I think I'm fucked here. I think I'm going to lose a few teams this week as well, including some of my highest scoring teams. Like this one's only 23 points ahead, though hopefully a little bit further ahead of second place. I think the big issue for me is that I have Marshawn Lloyd in a lot of spots. So that's not helping. I didn't hit the 0 RB darlings quite as well this year. Jerome Ford's been kind of shit after starting well. Those are my biggest issues right now. I do have some good teams in other tournaments I'll show you guys in a moment, but my best team overall is still the one I drafted the first week that BBM opened. Kyler, Jaden, Bo Nix, Joe Mixon, James Conner, Brian Robinson Jr., Chuba Hubbard, Bucky Irving, Kamani Vidal back to life technically, if not practically. Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Cortland Sutton, and Marvin Mims gave me fucking a lot of points this week, which was a shocker. The issue is Sam Laporta, Ben Sinnott. This team could have really used Zach Ertz. Really could have used Zach Ertz. But these are the kind of teams I have. So the main thing for me is like, my teams are not high scoring relative to everything advancing, which is why I'm not advancing as much. The good thing is that these teams should be more live tournament options. Kyler, Bo Nix here, no Saquon, Joe Mixon, Jalen Warren, Jerome Ford, Rico Dowdle, Bucky Irving, Justice Hill, getting direct leverage on Derrick Henry there. Chase, who I guess this team is hoping he keeps going. Nico Evans, Zay Flowers, Cortland Sutton, Michael Wilson, Jordan Whittington, one of the worst picks in best ball in hindsight. Josh Reynolds could have played this week maybe, but didn't go. McBride and Freiermuth. I have teams that are like tournament-ready teams. I just don't know what they're going to do. If Saquon puts up 1 billion points, I'm fucked. If fucking whatever player puts up 1 billion points, I'm fucked. If mediocre receivers, guys that were taken in the first 7 rounds that didn't do well at receiver this year, put up a lot of points, I'm going to do well. So that's really where I am with BBM right now. I have currently 8 entries in first place, 8 entries in second place, 17 in third place. Going into yesterday, I had 25 in third place, now 17. I still have 18 in fourth place. I'm above expectation in third and fourth place teams, which is not where you want to be. I built teams that are top of the pyramid teams. They are all losing to a Saquon team. They are all losing to a Derrick Henry team. This one, I have my Kyron. I even drafted an RB here. I have Kyron competing against the big dogs. I don't know. I don't know how these playoffs are going to go because, like, if you're going off basic DFS principles, I've built a lot of teams that have low-owned pieces going into BBM that should theoretically have leverage on a lot of guys because there's not on those other guys' teams. They just haven't been good the entire year. So that's sort of the trade-off of everything here that I don't know what happens. I hope Saquon busts every week. I hope that's it. Would want a lot of Nico. We'll see that. Guy you need to win BBM, Hollywood Brown. Yeah. He's not even going to advance that many, but maybe. Our video where he trauma bond. Yeah, I don't like trauma bonding. I like just good stuff. But yeah, so anyway, ton of third place teams, ton of fourth place teams. I got no idea what's going to shake out. Like I have one down here that's 1.3 points out with Jaden, Bryce Young. Bryce Young still playing next week. Bijan, Swift, Brian Robinson. This one could get there next week. Diggs, Hollywood Brown. Yikes. I could advance teams that are shit. I could advance teams that are unique. I don't know. My worst BBM team scored 1,100 points with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert, with ATN, Mostert. Just the boulevard of broken dreams here from top to bottom. So honestly, the main point for me is that week 14 is going to be harrowing. I don't know how it's going to go. I'm advancing below average now, but the bullets I do have feel at least like tournament-y bullets. A lot of Jaden, Bo Nix, Kyler Murray stuff, which is not the highest advance rate overall. So I still have hope, but how much hope? I don't know. How much Bucky am I advancing, just out of curiosity? Yeah, advancing only 4 Buckies. See, I'm only advancing only 12% of my Buckies too, which sucks. Like, even the player takes I got right, I'm still not advancing enough of. Like, Bucky is one of my biggest stands, and like, because it was with other shit that hasn't worked out, I'm just not there. And it does not make me feel great, to be honest. Other top streamers here. How's our pal Pete? He's at 13%, 20 out of 150. His best team is this one, with Burrow, Young, Daniel Jones, Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook, Chase Brown, Charbonnet, and Shipley. Maybe Shipley, you need probably a fucking Saquon injury and a Gainwell injury at this point. Zay Flowers, T. Higgins, Marvin Harrison, Jerry Jeudy, Leggett, Troy Franklin, Burton, Wandale, elite tight end with Kittles and Bowers. Man, if you just had like okay tight ends, that's enough to make up for bad receivers this year too, which is kind of weird. BBM winner Pat Kerrane. He's now even with me. He's got less than me. 10 out of 150 for him. His best team is this one. Burrow with Watson, Achane, Pollard, Chase Brown, Dowdle, Herbert, Foreman, Chase, Nico, Keenan Allen, Brian Thomas, Sutton. Judy got him there. Still not the kind of super powered teams you'd want to see up top. Who else am I looking at? Look at Liam. People love to dunk on Liam. I don't want to dunk on anybody here. He's advancing more than me, 20 out of 150. His best team was drafted. Wow, he really drafted well late. Got to give him credit for that. And won early, too. His best team, Burrow, Purdy, ATN, Cook, Rashad White, Kamara, Swift, Chase, Debo, Evans, Judy, Downs, Yoshivas, McCaffrey trade. This is really not a great receiver core either. Oof. Who else? We got Davis Maddock, who does great content. If you're going to watch any streams that aren't mine, he's doing one of the best jobs right now. Not doing one of the best jobs in BBM, though. 12 out of 150. His top team, Levis, Fields, May. Yikes. Saquon on this one, though. Montgomery, Chase Brown, RBs aren't bad. Corum, Dobbins, Jalen Wright. Back half, that's not the best. Lamb, Neighbors, Cooper, Worthy, JSN, Polk, Mims, Bowers, Chig. So the thing is, like, I look at my tournament teams, and I feel like I think they look better than a lot of these, but I might be personal bias stuff. Fantasy Flock, I'm sure advancing 70% of his lineup still. 22% for him. His best team, Mixon, Aaron Jones, Trey Benson, Chase Brown, Algier, Madison, with Lamar and Fields, AJ Brown, London, Flowers, Reed. Honestly, not a bad team. Rashee Rice, obviously not going to help. Roman also not going to help. Yeah, not bad. He got the Cleveland stack without the QB, which is pretty smart. One of the few times I'll say that about this particular creator. Neil, our pal Neil Orfield, he's at 15 out of 150. He's right there with me. His top team is a Burrow, Herbert, Saquon, Kyron team, RB Piggy team, Chuba, Elijah Mitchell, Estime, Chase Cooper, Jaden Reed, Lad McConkey, Deontay Johnson, Shaheed, that sucks. Burton, that sucks. Yoshivas, that sucks. Maybe these guys could get there late for him because of Burrow trying to audition guys for roles for next year. Goddard, Hockenson, and Jonnu. It's okay. Also, and everybody else supposed to look at Eric Bimefor, who started really hot earlier in the year. Hey, he's dead average, 25 out of 150 for him. Are they doing Spike Week streams anymore? I think I haven't seen Spike Week on YouTube in a minute. Jaden Daniels, Brock Purdy, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Kendra Miller, Chuba Hubbard, Ray Davis, Bucky Irving, Eli Mitchell, Drake. All of his teams have like some sort of fade on McCaffrey is what I've noticed when we pull them up every week. Drake London, Devontae Adams, Zay Flowers, Higgins, Jamison Williams. Yo, this is an awful receiver core. Kittle and Bowers, though, helping out a lot. Kittle Bowers teams. Let's look at some advance rates overall. Just out of curiosity. Where'd that go? Kittle advance rate. George Kittle advancing 21% of teams. Brock Bowers advancing 27% of teams. 2 to 3 weeks so that they maybe lost their, because I don't think he got laid off from the Great Better Collective rearing of ugly heads, but I don't know. I hope those guys are okay. I don't talk to them enough. But good guys over at Spike Week, even though I know the Discord gets made fun of a lot. 31.5% advance rate for Bowers and Kittle teams. Let's just go through the top of the board. McCaffrey advance rates. CMC teams advancing 5%. So great leverage for the playoffs for Christian McCaffrey teams. Number 2, Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill teams advancing 14%. Honestly, could be worse. Jefferson? No, CeeDee Lamb. Well, whatever. Let's look at Lamb in a minute. Jefferson teams advancing above average, 19%. How would that? I know he's top 5, but God, he has been awful. He could be outscored by literally any receiver over the last month. It's insane. CeeDee Lamb under average, 15.9%. Chase has to be fucking 40. Jamar Chase, 45% advancing. That is your chalk. That is your super chalk. Amon-Ra advancing 24%. It's a lot of Amon-Ra too. Better than CeeDee Lamb, better than Tyreek. Who else do we have early? Bijan. Bijan advancing 18%. He's been on a good run. He honestly might be the best leverage against Saquon and Henry because he can give you a reliable mid-20s. And people probably, a lot of these teams with Saquon seemingly took Chase first round. What's that? %82%? So 4,700 teams are right now going to be advancing Saquon and Jamar Chase. That is so much. How many of these have Henry too? Okay, not that many have all 3 of those guys. So that's a positive. If you have all 3, you're unique and you have probably 3 of the best projected players from the year. The issue is the Bengals' motivation and all that, and Henry going the wrong way. Just out of curiosity. Wow. I think that shows you a lot about these drafters. Personally, only 361 teams exist with Saquon, Jamar Chase, and Bucky Irving. That was all you needed here. And to our credit, Mathology, one of the few players who have that. The only player I think in BBM above 2,000 points. He's number 1 overall amidst everything. And he's the only guy that got this combo. One of few guys that got this combo, really. But yeah, those guys were not in on rookies. People who took Saquon and Chase, they're just like, ooh, 2 good players who've been good at fantasy football historically. Again, I'm not the guy who's going to dunk on the Saquon drafters, whatever, quite as much. I think they're all assholes that have reached out to me. Besides that, but I don't think they drafted young guys well, would be my guess. Just out of curiosity, too. Maybe them take Jaden. Nope, only 427. You guys weren't sharp. If you took Saquon and Chase, sorry, not sharp. You take Bo Nix at all? It's going to be like fucking 10 lineups. All right, 350 still took that, but really not a lot. Not a lot took those combos, man. When you worry about unique teams, by the way, this is why you don't worry about unique teams, because people just don't, they're mental, the psychographics of things, like they just don't land on certain plays no matter what the situation is. Anyway, rest of the first round, Breece Hall. %12 advance rate. Honestly feels like it should be worse. So kudos to Breece Hall. AJ Brown's got to be low. 15% for AJ Brown, even though he's been dog shit for about a month and change. That surprises me a little bit. Drake London, who is somehow a top 6 receiver in half PPR. Still under average. 14%. Garrett Wilson. 11%. So, all right. What's Nico at? Because a lot of Saquon drafters won't have Nico. Nico's 16%. And how many Saquon Nicos exist? Probably a few, but not a lot. Only 207 exist. All right, well, you know the chalk. That's that. Quickly, my other lineups here, because I actually do have some sick lineups in other tournaments. So big board wise, advancing 23 out of 62. We'll see how week 14 hurts that, but I think I'm the most live to have a shot in the big board out of anything. 37% advance right now compared to 25. As I've said this entire time period, I think I give you the biggest edge in the January and February drafting. That's really like pre-NFL draft. I personally believe I'm the best in this business at what I do. The big board, we'll see if I can win it because that would really make my claim better. A lot of third place teams, so we could certainly fall out here, but a lot of my front runners have been front runners the entire year. And these are not Saquon teams either. I have one Saquon team, I think, out of all of them. My top one is a Stroud Baker team. Kamara, Pollard, Zamir White. Ugh, Zamir White, such a fucking portfolio killer. Robinson, Ford, Charbonnet, Bigsby, Amon-Ra, Nico, Evans, Kupp, Ridley, Leggett, Noah Brown. That team is very potent at receiver. Tight end, Jonnu needs to keep doing what he's doing. Juwan Johnson going to look better now. Gesicki's been okay. Davis Allen, not so much. This team can make some damage, I think, as long as Saquon and Derrick Henry don't drive the entire thing. I got some unstacked Hurts here. Point being is I have some good big board teams. My best team, though, amidst everything, and this is going to be, where is it? My best team is my Badge Rose Brawl team. This one, I think, I mean, obviously, we'll see what happens. This one can win it all, though. Hurts and AR doing well enough. We survived the AR benching. We're now back in the hunt pretty well with him. We got Saquon, Jacobs, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Brian Robinson Jr., Singletary. Singletary's a non-factor now, but everybody else here is live and parts of vibrant offenses for the most part. Feel good about that. Jefferson, Chase, Debo, Devontae Smith, Tank Dell, Pittman, Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed, we saw a top 10 receiver on the year. Tank Dell, due for a spike. Devontae, feel like due for a spike. Debo, we'll see what happens with him, but hopefully he plays the rest of the year. Brock Bowers, David Njoku, Dallas Goedert. Of course, the Badge Rose Brawl, six-man drafts, and you don't actually get money for advancing. You only get money after you advance the second lineup. But even by the standards of it being like a loaded tournament where it's a six-man, I nailed it. Like I nailed this in one try. So we'll see if that one does any damage. And honestly, I might run into a buzzsaw of other good teams. Wish it had a Bucky or something, but I just didn't skim that low. So that's that. I didn't put a lot in the puppy, not advancing there. Advancing one mini Schnauzer, which I drafted while I was drunk on vacation in Virginia Beach. A Lamar Stafford team with Mixon, Brooks, Pollard, Spears, Chase Brown, Lloyd. Fucking Marshawn Lloyd, man. Puka Nacua, Drake London, Zay Flowers, Addison. Point being, I don't want to look at every team. I have some lineups that are still alive that I feel not bad about. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. Drafters, I got fucking nothing. Drafters, I don't know what it would take for any of these lineups to even surge. I'm just dead. I was looking at my pal, Robert Griffin III team, who was here the other day. Who's this? Guess random people flying high. We got number 28. My 28th drafted team is my highest now. I'm going to show you the Robert Griffin III one, though, because it's like a hilarious catastrophe that could have been a lot better. Lamar and Kirk, Kyron and Brian Robinson, Brooks, Ray Davis. You just can't win on drafters if you didn't have one of Saquon. I mean, ideally Saquon and Chase. Saquon, Chase, and Henry, I think, as well. The top team overall is a Burrow, Saquon, Kamara, Najee, Rico, Bucky team with Chase. Just loaded at RB. Yeah, drafted this year, a total bust. I don't know what the takeaway is from drafters other than I think drafting completely different types and different players more instead of getting locked into a type because like there's no tournament upside for you really. I think that's my main takeaway from drafters this year, but I'll get some money back. Candidly, they bankroll me anyway to do it on stream, so it doesn't fucking matter to me. But drafters, I think some lessons learned here this year in terms of just like I got really lucky, I think, last year to finish top 100 because of the fact that I just drafted a really, a nuts kind of lineup or adjacent to the nuts. This year, I didn't do that, and I missed out on the guys that were the highest scoring throughout the year, and as a result, I couldn't get there. The team I drafted with Robert Griffin III, though, so fucking unlucky. So it has Jaden, Goff, Aaron Rodgers. That's fine. David Montgomery or Ramondre. We have Eckler on IR, Herbert, who went the wrong way entirely, Algier, whatever. The receiving core, though, CeeDee Lamb, fucking awful run out. Olave, awful run out. Devontae Smith, awful run out in the home stretch. Amari Cooper gets traded to the Bills, gets worse. Jamison Williams, I think he's been fine, but not a great run out this week. Josh Downs hurt. Naylor, nothing. Lazard got hurt when he was having a great year. Laporta and Jonnu doing good work, but Ertz as well puts in another 12. Tight end's looking good, but this is my team that was looking okay with Robert Griffin III for most of the year. And we just got fucking, again, Simpson softball team at receiver. So drafters, a dead cause for me. And I think that's the video, guys. Hour and 20 minutes. My least favorite video of the week always ends up the longest, but I'm going to give you guys one takeaway. Well, let's see. It'll be this. Worst part about Marshawn Lloyd is that he'll end up a great pick next year. Again, I'll fucking be there again. But he really was the one thing, like if he had hit this year in the way that even honestly a fractional amount of what Bucky did, and I think those guys to me, based on what I look at, those were the two outliers in terms of all the college guys coming in. That would have completely changed my year. Like really, like having Marshawn Lloyd and Bucky hitting, I would have been like, all right, let's go. Marshawn and Bucky versus fucking Saquon in the playoffs. Fine, I can live with it. Now, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to get. So that's the main thing getting into week 14, guys. It's a time where I think we really just don't know now. We know what the chalk is, though. Those Saquon and Jamar Chase drafters. If you don't have those guys, even if you only have one of them, you need to be joining the rest of the pack. You're rooting against them. And frankly, with Saquon, look, the ways that he fails, Hurts going off, injury. those are the two ways that you get out of this fucking morass of chalk. But appreciate this from Chunk as well. You had a lot of great picks to take this year that you have to be happy about. I guess I'm only going to be happy if I win 50 grand or more. Like that's it. I put in so much work this year for this to be the run out. You know, it's a bummer, honestly. Like you guys, if you follow this channel, you know the amount I obsess over this stuff, the news in the offseason, projecting these guys correctly as rookies coming in. So I'll say no matter what, to me, like I think this year's disappointing. Honestly, if I win BBM, if I win the big board, if I win the Bachelor's Brawl, I'll be stoked. But I'll still feel disappointed about this year because I think I got a lot of things right. I just missed the one thing that everybody in the industry missed, which is that receivers are going to be awful. And I guess that's it. But I appreciate you guys being here. And I appreciate chats like this as well from Spurious News. Thanks for sharing everything with us. The highs and the lows are plenty. That's true. And look, same thing again next year. Assuming Underdog pays me what I'm worth. I'll be doing the same process again. So hit that like button, guys. It goes a long way here, especially on these videos, which are niche on top of niche on our already niche channel. So your likes, your comments, your subscribes go a long way here. Of course, check out our sponsors too. Unabated, $1,000 of bonus, Underdog. That would be different. Unabated is not going to be $1,000 in bonus cash. Underdog is though. Promo code SPLASH. Stochastic 15% off. Link in the description. Check that out. They have no more deals going for Cyber Monday. And for the record, I didn't want to say it while these deals were going on. The deal you get with me is better than any deal they give you because all their deals for new customers go only off the first month. Mine is in perpetuity. So 15% off always. Promo code SPLASH. Link in the description. If ever you're going to buy anything for any sport, data-wise, sim-wise, whatever, lineup generator, use that promo code. It's the best promo code they have. And I can't say that on their content, but like legit, if you pay for data, pay it that way. Unabated, $30 off as well. Going live on Splash Play NBA at 4 p.m. today, even though I fucking wore my throat out here. The throat goat's worn his throat out. Shout out to all the paying members here. You two can support the show down below. I'll let you talk about Lad McConkey more if you're a paying member. I'll tell you that much. $4.99. Hit the join button down below. It does go a long way here to support the show. In a perfect world, we'd have 1,000 paying members. Everybody who watches the show regularly, about 5,000 people watch more than 1 hour of the show every month. And they don't pay. So they should pay, right? It helps out. Help me out like PBS. Join down below. Support the show. And you can talk about whatever. You get a lot more leeway. And I like you more. For sure. Especially the guys who fucking DM me all the time. Like if you used to be a paying member and you're not anymore, don't at me as much. You might ask. Shout out to gambling. shout out to gambling responsibly. You too should follow these rules. Call the number. Even though it is always money time here. And here's Daffy Duck jerking off. I haven't played a GIF on here in a while. Back on Thursday with more for the showdown. Back later today, Splash Play NBA, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Check that out at Splash Play NBA. I've been doing a really good job on there, and that's going to keep going on. And also a $5 entry fee NBA slate. So if you're looking for some action, maybe NFL kick your ass, put in 20 entries with me into that tournament today because that's what I'm going to be doing. And I'll be back there at 4. So I'll see you guys then. Enjoy your days. And, of course, good luck. Pray for week 14. Fingers crossed. Please. Bye.